hopefully. I mean, we've been waiting. I mean, this is something not only Albertans want. I got to tell you, in Saskatchewan, we want this too. I mean, we're the energy capital of Canada, both Alberta and Saskatchewan. And I know they talk a lot about Danielle Smith, this and that, but include Saskatchewan. We've got it too, and we want to be a part of this pipeline. So Thursday's announcement will be interesting. Hope for the best.
And what do you think it would mean for the province of Alberta? You know, there are questions about whether it would actually generate the economic benefits that Alberta's claiming right now.
I think oil and gas has given this country everything. You know, our pensions, our schools, our hospitals, Canadians forget. I see it every day in my province of Saskatchewan. We've got the resources in our province, whether we're using them right now or not, but they're coming with uranium. This is an exciting time to be in Western Canada. We have the resources that this country needs right now to improve our standard of living, and Alberta and Saskatchewan are proud to be a part of it.
Are you concerned at all about potential challenges when
Always.
it comes to Indigenous?
No, in fact, I just had a meeting with several of them. Many of them have been harping now for 2 or 3 years. They want to be partners on this. They want to buy pipelines. They want to be involved from day one. We have to include them. They're part of this.
But it's the coastal First Nations that are speaking out against this, and they're going to be directly impacted.
Well, they are, and that's a concern. And hopefully, you know, with meetings, it comes around and we get this pipeline built for the best of our country.
Thanks very much,
Thank
Mr.
you, guys.
Do you have any concerns if this pipeline goes through to the North Coast?
Well, the pipeline, our government is committed to open any business, but there are conditions. The condition is must have a consent of the Premier of British Columbia and the First Nation. As long as those conditions are met, I think we need to grow the economy. It's a very good project, but those conditions are also very important and mandatory.
So why sign an MOU if those conditions haven't been met yet?
Well, MOU, we don't know what's in the content. Till we see the MO, we don't know.
What, I guess, is there any, what do you make of the BC Premier saying that he's been left out of this conversation and that some of the premiers like Smith and Moe really don't know what they're talking about when they're advocating for this?
Well, I understand Mr. Moe was not at the meeting. He's been just speaking from outside, and we took it that he was part of the meeting. He was not. And I can agree with Mr. Eby as Premier of British Columbia that he should be at all of these discussions.
Politically, are you concerned about blowback from voters in British Columbia if an MOU is signed? Even if a pipeline isn't built, there's a strong signal here in a province which seems to be pushing back against this.
Well, we are talking about we don't know what's in the MOI. For me to say something which I don't know what's in the MOI, I think is irrelevant.
But do you have any concerns about your seat or votes or anything for Liberals in BC?
I think people need growth. We need to grow the economy, but their conditions are also very important. So both of them has to go hand in hand.
What assurances have you received that those conditions are going to remain in place, given the fact that the feds are signing an MOU with Alberta, they're working closely on some kind of a path to a pipeline?
Well, I am absolutely confident that till those conditions are met, there will be no pipeline.
Should Premier Eby, should he have been at the table for these talks about a pipeline?
Absolutely, that one I agree.
Was that a mistake on the part of the Prime Minister and his cabinet to not
I'm
include him?
not going to say it's a mistake on it. He's a major partner in that thing, and he should be at the meeting.
But they had a phone call yesterday, and it seems like it's falling on deaf ears.
First Nations say that they haven't been locked out of these meetings with the federal government over a possible MOU about a potential pipeline from Alberta to BC. What do you make of how the federal government's handled this issue?
Well, I think they've been handling this issue since Bill C-5, which is in direct violation of the Constitution and Aboriginal treaty rights. He's clearly shown that he is not on side of human rights, whether it's the rights of Indigenous peoples, the right to a clean, healthy environment, a sustainable right. Certainly with BC, he's also left out the province in these discussions. And I can tell you, all he's setting up is not jobs, not development, but a pipeline to the Supreme Court. Thanks.
We are dealing obviously with some very serious situations with the United States, changing our relationship with the world in general. Sorry, I got to catch my breath. You all surprised me. And look, I think it would be a really important step if we manage to get to an accord between two jurisdictions that are not always on the same page.
But how do you get to that accord? I mean, BC is staunchly opposed. Coastal First Nations say they don't want to buy into this.
Well, I think we're going to have to wait and see what comes out on Thursday before we start reacting to it. Thanks very much.
An MOU between Alberta and the federal government.
Oh, well, I think any time that the federal government and any province or territory is having a conversation about how to expand the growth and prosperity of the country is a good thing.
Are you worried about caucus divide in this, though? Because some BC Liberal MPs don't seem too pleased.
Well, what do we know so far?
Well, there have been a little bit of pushback on the fact that there's been an MOU coming on this, and
I think it's very
the
natural.
BC Premier has been very clear he's opposed to this matter, so it could cause some divisions in caucus.
Well, I think two things I would say. The first is we don't really know what the details of this are yet, or at least I don't, and if you do, I'd be curious to know how you do. But this is going to come to our attention in a couple of days' time, so we'll have to wait to evaluate it on the surface in terms of what it's going to mean. So far as what you refer to as divisions in caucus, I don't refer to these as divisions in caucus. I used to say this all the time when talking about a variety of different public policy issues. The Liberal Party is a big tent. We represent people from all across the country, from diverse backgrounds and perspectives. It's natural for members of Parliament to convey and echo back to their colleagues and to Parliament here the different things that they're hearing from their constituents, which is what their job is. So I'm not surprised that there's a difference of opinion at first blush, and I'm sure there'll continue to be differences of opinion, and we'll have to evaluate what this prospective MOU looks like when it hits the table.
How do you...
Mais comme je viens dit, comme c'est vous qui utilisez le mot diviser ou division. Pour moi, c'est juste une conversation comme Canadien, comme Canadienne. On a des représentatifs de partout au Canada, alors c'est naturel, c'est normal d'avoir des différences d'opinion, soit que c'est Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, Nouvelle-Écosse, etc. Alors, j'imagine que oui, on va continuer d'avoir des discussions à propos des différentes politiques fédérales et provinciales, mais on va attendre jusqu'à jeudi pour voir plus d'informations à propos de ce projet en particulier.
How do you smooth over relations with BC as well as a government? Because Premier David Eby seems pretty miffed right now that he wasn't involved in the talks from the start. He doesn't seem pleased with the idea of even signing an MOU of a pipeline to his province that he really didn't have a say in.
Yeah, I'd leave that for the Prime Minister to comment on. He's responsible for relationships with First Ministers, and I'd hate to interfere with that. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
The caucus mentioned he sent in over this MOU with Alberta. BC's not happy about it. What's your sense of how your caucus is going to be able to weather this?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to them. I was away and I just came back today. I haven't spoken to either Albertans or BC, so I can't really help you.
Do you support a new pipeline in Canada?
I think our government's been pretty clear. It has to have consent from the Indigenous people who would be involved and from the province. So.
Right, thank you.
Thanks very much.
On MOU creating divisions in your caucus?
I haven't heard any yet, but that's an early start of the conversation, so it is an interesting topic, though.
Are you concerned about it?
I've never been a huge pipeline guy. But we'll see. We'll see what the government works out with the provinces and the Indigenous and all the groups that are involved.
I'm sorry?
What do you think of the MOU that we're supposed to be getting on Thursday for a pipeline to the BC coast?
Well, let's see what the document says. It remains that the Prime Minister engage in that discussion process without notifying or involving the Premier of British Columbia. And this is deeply concerning. And of course, there are also issues with respect to Indigenous peoples, and they should be at the table as well.
How much of a setback is this in BC federal relations when BC wasn't even invited to the table for talks that directly impact the province?
Well, you know, the Prime Minister talks out of both sides of his mouth. He's talking about national interest projects. He's talking about engaging and needing the approval of provincial and territorial leaders, including Indigenous leadership. Those are his words, but his action differs severely. We have seen right from the beginning that the Prime Minister did not consult with rights holders. They didn't even know about the legislation. And in this path that the Prime Minister is taking, frankly, I think they're just going to end up resulting in projects in the courts.
But do you think folks in BC have changed their mind at all when it comes to tanker traffic on the BC coast? Do you think even with the trade war with the U.S., there might be more of an appetite to see a project like a pipeline built?
Well, I think British Columbians can remain very concerned about ensuring that our coast is not negatively impacted. We know for sure that oil spill will take place. The question is a matter of time. The question is about when. And so those concerns have not gone away, even though there is this fight with the United States. And the other issue as well is that with respect to lifting the tanker ban, frankly, is not even feasible because the way in which the territory and the flow, if you will, of the strait is such that it is actually not even feasible. So, you know, set that aside for a minute. I think the question remains this. If the Prime Minister actually wants to work with provinces and territories and land and Indigenous leaders, he actually needs to do that work. He needs to engage with them at the table instead of doing what he's doing right now.
Okay, thanks so much. Your reaction to an MOU possibly coming on Thursday for a pipeline?
I'd be reading it with great interest, but it was absolutely outrageous. The British Columbia government hasn't been involved. It's absolutely outrageous to imagine that the Council of the Haida Nation, the coastal First Nations of British Columbia are clear, as are most British Columbians. So the Liberals will be making a grave mistake, and I think most of the Liberal MP backbenchers are really worried, and they should be. So one just has to hope that these are trial balloons that will be shot down soon, because there's no such thing as a pipeline through British Columbia's northern territory to new tankers on our waters. No way, no how.
Can you elaborate on why you think Liberal MPs should be worried?
They'll lose their seats. And they like their seats.
What stock are you putting into this MOU possibly changing anything? I mean, an MOU isn't a legally binding agreement. It seems there's going to be a lot of conditional language. Like, how much stock are you?
That's just it. I want to read it, and it does seem like there's going to be a lot of conditional language, particularly around the idea of carbon capture and storage. That notion itself needs to be carefully examined because we haven't seen any place in the world where it actually works. So if that is going to be a key component. But again, if there were compromises from the Alberta government that said they would actually reduce emissions or put in place a price cap or a production cap, there are questions floating out there as to what this MOU will actually contain, and that's what I like to do is read it first. But I'll be looking at it closely and providing a response as quickly as possible. But as a British Columbian and as someone who understands the climate science, we can't build new fossil fuel infrastructure and expect to leave our children a livable world, and those are rather bottom line issues.
Is it making you regret your budget vote? Is it making you regret your budget vote?
No. I voted in order to assure that my government was committed to the Paris Agreement and the nature agenda. Nothing has changed that. But again, as I said at the time, maybe in later years we'll decide, oh well, she was a fool to believe them. But for now, I hold the Prime Minister to his word that we will meet our Paris Agreement targets.
Madame, politiquement, vous pensez que c'est une mauvaise idée pour les libéraux d'ouvrir la porte?
Oui, je pense que c'est vrai que pour les députés de Colombie-Britannique qui sont maintenant les libéraux, c'est impossible d'imaginer qu'il n'y ait pas une grave erreur pour eux. C'est vraiment la réalité qu'en Colombie-Britannique, l'idée d'avoir un nouveau oléoduc et aussi avec les grands pétroliers près de nos côtes, ce n'est pas possible et ce sera un moment de grand espoir pour tous les Verts parce que les députés libéraux sont menacés pour tiennent pour garder leur siège. Merci.